All right, so today we're putting on our collars and our facings. And all of our shirts do have collars and facings, whether or not you're doing men's, women's. So we'll start out with the new look pattern, right? The one with the skirt. And we're doing steps 5 through 8 and then 11. So just, again, to get you used to the language, I will just read off what's going on. We already did, right, our collar. We faced it. We turned it under, turned it inside out, so it's ready to roll. So we're going to attach the collar to the neckline, okay? And as you can see, in the pattern, it shows no sleeve. We did the sleeve last week, so just ignore that. We're a step ahead. So, with right sides together, you're going to take the edge that is not folded under, right? Even the men's has a folded under edge. You're going to take those notches and align them to the center back. Okay, so since those are matching, I'm going to start pinning. And I'll pin the notches first. And again, I'm pinning perpendicular to the cut edge, so that way I can, pull them out easily as I start sewing. And I'm just going to go around either side of the neckline. Okay, and again, this is kind of like the sleeve where the collar is a straighter cut edge and the neckline is curved. So this is where, and also you'll want to keep those the shoulder seam flat as you sew, right? So it doesn't get bunched up. But you're basically, pinning a straight edge to a curved edge, which there is that large dot, and I think it mentions in the directions that you are matching notches and large dots, placing the small dots at the shoulder seam. So the small dot that is on your collar gets matched up to the shoulder seam, which I already did, and the edge of the collar ends up at the large dot. Okay, so I don't see the large dot on the collar simply because it's on the inside here, but it basically it ends at that large dot. And again, these seam lines are flush, the cut lines are flush, but the edge of this collar is going to end up at the middle, right, of the large dot. All right, and keep in mind, I actually just pinned only one layer. You're pinning both of the layers, right, beyond this turned under part. Okay, so when you stitch it all down, you're stitching the entire collar, both layers, right, interfaced and non-interfaced, until you get to where you snipped and turned under. And actually, I think the men's collar, we'll do that separately, but I think the entire edge is turned under. So we'll do that separately. All right, so I'm easing in a little bit. And I'll do the same thing to the other side. So I'll take my center, or my front edge of the collar, and align it to the middle of that large dot. Again, cut edges are even. And I'll go ahead and pin that down first, right? Because you want to get that right. And then again, the small dot to the shoulder seam, and that's where we cut, right? We snipped into, so easy to align. And then again, the straight edge is being matched to the curved, which gets a little tricky, right, when sewing, but it can be done. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sew that all down, right? Our regular stitch, we're back stitching because it is in fact a permanent seam. So again, 5/8 of an inch, and all right. So I usually, I put the needle down in to make sure I'm getting the very first stitch correct, right? Because you want that center front to be accurate. And I'm making sure everything's pulled nice and away from, right, the needle. And I'm keeping this nice and flat, right, 5/8 of an inch, seam allowance, 2.5 inch stitch length, and I'm off. Okay, and again, I'm keeping this all flat. And honestly, the great thing is there's a stay stitch, so I just follow along. You can just follow along that stay stitch, right? And I keep flattening things out and making sure it's all flat where I'm stitching. Again, don't forget to take out your pins as you're stitching along. Whoops, and I just did, okay. And I want to keep this fold out of the way, right? So this folded edge, I may have run over it while talking to you guys. Yes, I did, okay. But I want to keep it, oops, out of the way so that I'm only sewing the 2 layers, not this folded under part. So it's just the folded under part I want to keep out of the way. And again, I keep flattening this out as I stitch along. And then I'll basically be stitching right at that corner where it's folded under. There we go. So now I'm back to the 3 layers. The interfaced and the non-interfaced collar and the shirt. And I'm keeping it nice and flat as I go along. Right, flat. And then when I get to the center front, again, I back stitch. Oops. Okay. And, right, the collar's attached to the shirt. I'm actually going to go to the iron and press all of this up after I trim and grade seams. Although, hold off on that, we're going to put the facing on first.